that, I wanted to do something extraordinarily special for you. And I couldn't think of three better representation of what the inner power and vision and fortitude and all of these women are multifaceted. Like they do a number of things great in the industry that they're in. And there are two industries that represent us well, where we get to tell our story and really show our greatness publicly. And those industries are the entertainment industry and the sports industry. They're the two most visible industries that we have. And so, without further ado, let's just get to the panel because Dr. Ingrid, you and I aren't important. It's the panel. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to introduce everyone to our guest that we're so excited about. This young lady, and I call her a young lady because she is timeless, ageless. She has a glow, and that glow doesn't start from her external beauty, but from her internal being, because she really is just a phenomenal person. I know you know that she's an accomplished artist as a singer and performer and entertainer, but what you may not understand is that she's a legend as a writer. She's also done dabbled in the areas of producing, which I'm sure she'll go into at some point, but she's such a creative genius. She's just not only professionally astute, but she also is a philanthropist as well as an entrepreneur. And that's Miss Carrie Hilson.
Hi.
So hello, Carrie. Glad you're here.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. And then aside from Carrie, we have the phenomenal Miss Natalie, the general manager of the ACEs. But you may say her title really exemplifies her greatness. No, that's surface. How they say you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. Dove into these young ladies and you'll really get to know the greatness that they are. She is an All-American, former All-American in volleyball and basketball, which is the hardest combination to become All-American in. She's been National Athlete of the Year multiple times. She's WNBA, she's the Olympic gold medalist, she is all of that and so much more, but she is a basketball prodigy. Whenever you talk about somebody who knows the game, but most importantly, Natalie knows people. And if you don't know people, you can't be great at very much of anything. So Natalie, the general manager of the ACEs, I welcome you and honor you in this space for the greatness that you are.
Thank you.
And last but definitely not least is our journey woman, not journeyman, journey woman. She has exemplified everything that it takes to be great and successful in this industry, in that she not only has succeeded as an athletic director, she has been willing to move into different spaces. And now, historically, she's created a space for herself with the Denver Broncos. I would like to introduce Dr. China Jude, who is the vice president of the men's NFL team, the Denver Nuggets.
Oh, Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos. I don't know where. My bad. Basketball. My bad. Broncos.
Definitely the Broncos.
Throwing the football, not shooting. Thank you. And of course, I have my co-host, Dr. Ingrid Wicker McCree, who is just a phenomenon in herself. And later on, joining, once we get past his technology problems, will be Raymond Coleman, who is our expert panelist, who kind of like sums everything up from a very intuitive and very, he is a life strategist is what I call him. He is built on peace and purpose within the journey. And Carrie is one of the people who's worked with Raymond for years, but he works in sports and entertainment. He is a go-to person for greatness. and also for peace. So with that being said, until he comes on, we're going to keep it moving. Dr. Ingrid, would you like to do the intro for ABIS quickly, and then we'll get to our panelists?
So good evening, everyone. And I'm just so blessed to be here and honored in these magnificent women's presence. I am representing, I'm actually the Executive Director for Advancement of Blacks in Sports, ABIS. And what we do is boldly advocate for racial, social, and economic equity for Blacks in the sports industry, whether that's higher ed, professional, amateur. So we are very fortunate to partner with Coach Bev and to put on these series and hopefully, well, not hopefully, I know that there will be so much shared with our audience today and those who are missing out. I just did a speech on being present and accounted for. So all those who are on right now, you're present and you're going to receive so many jewels tonight. So thank you and let's go.
Let's go, ladies. You ready? Okay.
Yes.
I know we have softball and women's sports, but I got to throw a couple of baseballs, a couple of hardballs at you guys. And this is just the facts. Less than 30% of the writers in the entertainment industry are women. Less than 5% are producers. You combine that together, and they're probably about 15% in that space. Now, you'll see a lot of women say they write their song. But it's different if you in the moment and you write something for you. But when you can connect with people in the way that Carrie does and write for someone else on their journey, that's when you are a writer in the industry. And that has no time frame on it. And that's a rarity. Also in sports, women account for what, 20% of the sports arena, especially even less in the administrative roles. So it's important to find out, how do you maneuver in a world? So you can imagine, if it's 80% men or 90% men, what is it like in that space where you've actually been able to make a space for yourself? I'll start with Carrie. You know, you've been able to walk in those rooms and own the space that you're in. How do you do that and still find the presence to own your own space?
I think owning your space is largely about believing that you believing that you belong there. That's number one. Being prepared, understanding, the ins and outs, doing your homework, studying and preparing yourself and understanding what it is you're there to do. And then two, not getting sidetracked. I think a big part of owning your space is not allowing any distractions to deter you or derail you. In a lot of people's cases, I know so many talented people that either gave up or made poor decisions, unwise decisions, and it completely derailed or even just sideswiped their opportunity to be in certain rooms. And they got phased out because of some decisions they would make. So I would say it's really a combination of that, but of those things. But I, going back on the first thing I said, it really has more to do with who you are inside and what you believe about your talent, about yourself, and what you have to offer. It's all this to me is all matters of the heart and your determination, your will, your mental.
Wow. So really, it's knowing who you are prior to getting in the room that determines your success in the room. That's
Absolutely.
some powerful stuff right there. Ladies and audience, wherever you are and whoever you are, I hope you got that component, because the room isn't going to prove to you that you're good enough. You have to walk into the room feeling like I'm present and good enough.
Yes.
So I'm going to flip to you, Natalie, and then on to Dr. China.
Yeah, hi everyone. For me, I've always believed that if I work hard, I can accomplish anything. And yes, it definitely takes people believing in you, but you first have to believe in yourself. Um, it was always a dream of mine. Once I finished coaching, I was coaching for 16 years prior to this job. I was coaching basketball, and my dream was to be a general manager and to be back into the WNBA. I watch basketball constantly. I'm sure my family would say I'm a basketball junkie. There's several times I've had about 3 devices on at once watching different games. So I absolutely love it. And just to be back into this environment with, watching and evaluating the best players in the world is pretty amazing. So just super grateful to, Mark Davis, the owner of the Aces, and President Nikki Fargas for believing in not only alumni, women of color is very important to get them back into these, places of administration. And the WNBA is about 80% of Black and brown faces, and it's important to allow them to see that they can follow in the footsteps. And once they are finished with their career, they can become, administrators and presidents of organizations and general managers. And so it's just an incredible job, and I absolutely love it. But it's important to believe in yourself first and foremost, and definitely be thankful and grateful for those people who help you get there.
Wow. And you know, Natalie, I listened to you, and you the core of what I pick up just in my internal being is that you're very passionate and you love what you do. And that's a prerequisite, as well as walking into the room knowing who you are. In order to know who you are and what you're capable of, you have to have something that you're very passionate and committed to, because it drives, am I correct, ladies? The work ethic. If there's no
Absolutely.
passion, the work ethic is shallow.
Yep, correct. Mm-hmm.
So, okay, Dr. China, bring this component, bring this corner home for us.
Well, I tell you what, my fellow panelists have said it perfectly. I'll chime in a little bit more about the passion, because that's what drives us, what is in our heart and what we believe in. But along with that, we have to uphold our values within that passion. And joining forces with others who have a similar passion helps as well, because it's people who surround us, who are our village, will continue to support us as we're navigating through a very difficult territory to get to the other end. And then along with that is making sure that we cultivate our curiosity. So sometimes we're going to have to go into places that makes us uncomfortable, but if we are curious, we are willing to dive deeper and to learn more and to strengthen our technical as well as interpersonal skill sets. So I see things in 2 different ways when it comes to spaces. It's one thing in owning a space that you're already invited to, but many times if we're not invited to it, how do we create our own spaces? How do we say, listen, I've made some attempts to get in, so I'm going to bring my, as they say, building a seat at the table, I'm going to bring my own wood, my own hammer, my own nails, and I'm just going to build my own table. And then what I'm going to do is model the behavior by inviting others in. So people who were left out in other spaces, they can be a part of the space that I created. So it's owning spaces as well as creating spaces to invite others.
Yeah.
Dr. Ingrid, before I say anything else, I'm gonna let you go, because y'all are killing it. Woo!
I'm just sitting here writing down all these notes. Believe that you belong there, being prepared, creating your own space. You think about Shirley Chisholm's quote about bring your seat to the table if you don't have one, and think about how long ago that was that she quoted that. And but we're still fighting for that till this day, right? And so we just
Mhm.
gonna have to keep fighting. But just amazing comments. Cultivate our curiosity. Just amazing. So I'm listening. I'm taking notes.
And I'm taking notes here and in here. It's really just a powerful touching. Everybody looks at what you guys do, and all of you have been very visible at some point in your career. But as you dove into becoming a writer and excuse me, an entrepreneur, people will say things like, "Oh, they fell off because we're not creating new music," or "I'm not in front of the camera dribbling a basketball, but I'm making spaces for other people's greatness." And as people who are working behind the scenes, people don't understand that although visibly exterior may look like you, behind the scenes doesn't look like you. What are some of the things that you would tell people who run into very difficult times? And with social media being so active, all the negativity, how do you get beyond that and stay in your space so that you can keep growing? Because negativity kills creativity. How do you bypass all of that? And I think you guys mentioned that, and stay wisdom and stay focused on your own success without getting derailed. How do you do that? I'm going to reverse the order and go. I know you just finished, but I'm going to reverse the order. Dr. China?
I'm thinking of a term called it's question close, listen closer.
Hmm.
Question close, listen closer. And making sure that we spend a lot of time listening to others' lived experiences. I work in diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is a newly created position with the Broncos. I'm still learning this space, especially coming from the collegiate perspective of being an athletic director and leading teams in the military. So I have to spend a lot of time just continuing to cultivate and question close and listen closer to make sure that we're providing or I'm providing support for others and being that servant leader and making sure that I'm supporting and many times leading from behind. In the military, at times you lead from the front, but I've been taught in my military experience to lead from behind and being that servant leader so we can engage others so they can grow. So I don't have to always be in the front. I want to be with people as they are growing and learning because I did not have that personal experience where someone was with me all the time. I had to learn by, baptized by fire or trial and error at times. But there are so wonderful people like Dr. Ingrid who supports me in all the endeavors. And then I look at her being a model to help be a servant leader for others.
Okay. Natalie or Carrie?
Yeah, I'll go. I think the biggest thing is, knowing, especially for young kids. I mean, we're all, except for Carrie, we're all older. And just learning to be still in times of struggle, be patient with knowing that there will always be better days, um, having people in your inner circle that you can trust in and lean on, bounce things off of, and just, I go back to believing in the things that you want to accomplish. And what always helps me, in times when you feel like there's things that could be going wrong, is just be a person of service, right? Look to how can I help others, because that will in turn help me. And you know, I always believe in lifting others up, because that in turn helps yourself. So you know, that's my biggest thing, is just, you know, be still in times of struggle, and lean on those that you know you can trust, and you know, have faith that there's always going to be better days. I mean, I have, you know, this is a personal side, but I have 6 kids, and you know, they've gone through hard times, you know, that some of them are on their own right now. And so it's just teaching them how to understand that you're going to have bad days, regardless of whether it's in life or in sports, and there'll always be better days. So just continue to believe in that.
Wow. Powerful
Mhm.
work. Okay, Carrie, bring that subject area home.
Well, that was a great segue to what I was thinking. Not cognitively, but remembering the times when I was going through my dark period. It was faith for me. That was what saved my life, was having faith in something, a being, source, God, whatever universe, whatever you refer to he, she, it as. That was a huge part of my personal phase of darkness. And then two, I would add to that, you mentioned social media and how those, you know, people are in front of the camera, or you're on the scene, and you're, you know, you may be the popular one for right now. And we all know the popular wheel goes all the way around. Everyone gets a turn. It can be fleeting, especially in my industry. That's really the way it's fashioned. And you can't really, very few can bypass that. But you have to really be strong in who you are and understand that there are, you know, pinnacles and there are valleys with any journey. Anyone that you talk to who is someone that you may be looking up to, someone that you would love to fashion your career or your life, even your lifestyle around what it is that they have, or the kind of person that they are. They'll tell you peaks and valleys. You know, you have to ride them out with the same amount of fervor, the same amount of vigor that you had from the beginning. So do whatever it takes to reignite that passion that we talked about earlier. Do whatever it takes to re-inspire yourself, or to motivate yourself, or to find that grit, that determination, that will that you had. Or even sometimes, in my case, it's finding the play that you had as a child. But yeah, you and putting those blinders on and understanding that your journey looks like no one else's. It's not,
Mm.
you know, everyone's journey is unique. Sometimes you step away for personal reasons. Sometimes it's professional. Sometimes it's failure. Sometimes it's this, it's that. There are a myriad of possibilities with anybody's journey. I lost my dad a couple of years ago. Had no clue. I thought I was on my way up to a peak, and I ended up back in the valley. You know, life happens, and social media does make it very difficult to accept your own failures. And I think that you got to put your blinders on. You got to understand, you know, life is going to life. Life is going to
I
life.
like that. Life is going to life.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have the presence of being, that we understand everything from a universal perspective, and I like how Carrie phrased our spiritual, our inner being, our souls, is that everything in the end occurs, every experience, to shape us and prepare us for the next level. It's not to
Yes.
break us, it is to wake us up to something within us that needed to grow
Mm.
in order for us to be prepared for the next level. So I'm really excited about that. Dr. Ingrid, do you have a question or comment on that subject area?
Well, I do have a question. The comment, you know, when you talked about being still, Natalie, and be patient. I think about 3 words: patience, perseverance, and presence that my mom has always said. I think, Carrie, when you talked about play, and it took me back to, right, think about it when you were a child and happiness, right? How do we help everyone find their happiness every single day? And for us growing up, it was quite different from the generation now. And so it's just like, how do we make these young people, how do we help them find their happiness? Um, a quote, and I said this last time, my mom's quote: "You are as narrow or as broad as your experiences." And right, those experiences are going to be peaks and valleys. They're going to be highs and lows, but they all still shape you. So my question is, because we talked a little bit about peaks and valleys and highs and lows, what do you do for mental health wise to make sure that you stay, we really don't stay anywhere in one space, but what do
How
you
do
do
you get centered?
for your mental wellness in the roles that you all are in, where it is very high stress?
Ladies, great question.
Do you really know what you want to know what we do?
And I know I have an idea, but I'm retired now, so
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just doing the things I love. Anytime I get to the ocean, I just got back from my girls had spring break, so we just took 3 days and went to the ocean. I love being by water, so just sitting by the ocean is super relaxing and just helps put things in perspective and allows you to breathe and just really enjoy the small things, the little things in life, appreciate all the little things. And for me, I love Audible. I love to, when I'm driving, listen to Audible. I lose myself in that. And you guys are going to laugh, but, doing, I don't know if any of you know the VR system, but doing Supernatural, the boxing workout on the VR. So that's what I like to do.
Nice.
Get that frustration out.
Yeah, it's just
Every now and then you have to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ladies, great answer.
You want to go, Carrie?
Oh, sure. I love that you mentioned nature. That is absolutely one of mine. And whenever I can't get to a beach, I just go for a hike. I go for a walk, even if it's paved. I could go to a park or whatever, just sit in the grass, just get some sun. That's my favorite thing to do, because something about, especially when you're barefoot on that grass, I feel like a battery recharging with joy and happiness. Sometimes I'm standing in the sun with my palms facing, this sounds really wacko, but like I'll face my palms to the sun, I'll close my eyes barefoot in the grass, and I can literally feel a smile has occurred. It happens all the time. So that's one of my favorite mental health like fixes. There's something about being in God's nature that really adjusts my attitude, it adjusts my mood, my thoughts even. So that's my favorite. I mean, there's lots of things I do. Play music. I'll go for a road trip to nowhere. I'll just say, let me see what downtown of, say, Concord, Georgia looks like. And I'll just listen to all of my childhood favorite songs and waste that gas and see
I
the
love
beautiful
that.
and see the beautiful sights. Like, I've never seen this place, but it's right here at home. Let me just take a drive and remember what it felt like to feel these songs for the first time. So, I mean, there are always things you can do that you don't have to spend money on. Like right now, I would love to get to a beach. I can't get to a beach. These are the things I'm currently doing. And journaling, that would be my third. Journaling, processing things, getting my thoughts out is really good for my mental health.
Excellent.
I love that. I try to cover the mind, body, and spirit. So for my mind, for some odd reason, I just love reading a lot of self-help books. I don't know why.
Me too.
Constantly reading, and I already have enough to read as it is on my job. For my body, I love to soak in a tub. Just soak in a tub, and that's it. I'll turn off the lights, play music, and just soak. And then when the water gets cold, I just let a little bit out, run more warm or hot water. And I just soak again, and I just continue to soak. So that's for my body, and then my spirit. I love listening to just TD Jakes, Joel Osteen. I'll just continuously Google, you know, a lot of their sermons, and I'm just continuously listening so I can stay grounded in my faith. And that's really important to me because at times we get so busy, maybe sometimes we can't get to the church service. So I'm always just playing it at home, even when I'm cooking or just listening to things like that. And then family is so important to me. I spent a great deal of my early career focusing on career, and I said I'm not gonna put that much focus, now in comparison to the time that I spent with my family. So I dive deep into the profession, but when it's family time, it is family time.
Mhm.
And to really flush my brain because I have a lot of data and information in my head, I watch a lot of cartoons because those are the simple times when you just watch cartoons, and I'm watching it with my family. I do have two grandchildren, and they're young and they're watching cartoons, and I'm like, okay, I'm watching it too. And then I don't have to think and analyze and overanalyze. So you just watch it, and then it clears your brain and you keep it moving.
And sometimes the nothingness of life is what allows the clarity of life.
Yes.
Sometimes it's important, I would say, to interject here that it's important who you have around you in those moments.
Mm.
Because some people will dive into the issue as opposed to diving into your well being. There's a difference.
Mm.
And it's important who you have around you because it's easy to find. What do they say? Misery loves company.
Mhm.
And I don't know if y'all have ever experienced this, but I'm sure everybody else does because I know I have. When you go to tell somebody what you're going through and they chime in with their issue, and next thing you know, you're in the midst of a pity party and most of it ain't about you anymore. So you never get to quite get the healing that you need. So be careful that when you're in a vulnerable state that you surround yourself by people that want to help you move through it as opposed to indulge in it.
Mm.
So that's a critical point. Now, I want to get to a myth, and the myth will ride very heavily in your area. And I'm calling it a myth right out front. So I want you to know I know it's a lie. We can't work together as people of color,
Mm.
and particularly women of color. And I look at the contrast, and I'm going to go ahead and say it so nobody else has to comment on it because I don't want to get nobody in trouble. But I'm looking at what's going on in the entertainment industry, pitting one group against another. I only see that among the Black artists. And in particularly, it's more prevalent among women artists than it is among, and it's not necessarily driven by the women, but it's participating by the women. And on the sports side, I'm seeing in particular in women's basketball that there is a unification of effort to elevate women of color. Like, I'm not just going to bring a seat to the table for myself. When I get to the table, I'm going to make sure there's a seat for you. So, what is you guys' thoughts on the fact that it has always been a mindset that we can't work together? Now, I know there are instances personality wise why we can't, but the scariest part of all of that for me is that we actually believe it.
Mm.
And then we start to live out that mindset. So, what is your feeling on the fact that we can work together?
Well,
I'll go for it.
I'll
Yes.
go first. I mean, I completely agree and believe that we can. And like you said, in women's basketball, it is very evident in in the creation. I think it started with the Pat Summits of the world, the Tara Vanderveers, who really are trying to uplift women and women of color. And Dawn Staley is one of the biggest advocates of it, just in all her support of all the other African-American, coaches, female coaches in the country, and uplifting them as coaches and giving them any support needed. And it means a lot, and it goes a long way. And I think that it's really improving not only the coaches believing in themselves, but these young women who are playing for them. It's elevating their beliefs in who they can become as young women. And so shout out to, Dawn Staley and everybody who's helping in that area.
You know what? I think it's important. I don't want to bypass this because it was kind of subtly placed in there, Natalie. One of the things that you said is that you actually began to model for the generation behind you by how you're operating in the space that you're in. Somebody's always watching. And if you're not, I call myself a servant warrior. Like, I'll go to war with you.
Yep.
But I'm here to serve.
Yep. I feel the same
First and foremost.
Don't
play with us on the field, and in the profession. But other than that, I'm here to help people be great.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people do it for me. I'm a pioneer in women's basketball.
Absolutely.
I'm now surrounded by incredible young, powerful athletes who are, leading the way. Those like Candace Parker, who is now playing for us, Asia Wilson, Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Plum. I mean, they are incredible young women who are very business-minded, and all the kudos to them. I love that we can help them in any way possible. But, it's also for the future of all these young kids. I have a 15 and a 13-year-old daughter who, feel that they can run the world. And I love that for them and just want to support the way possible. But what incredible role models that they have in all these young ladies.
And Natalie, I just want to say, I appreciate you saying this, because in my years in hiring coaches, especially of women's teams, I always talk to the student athletes and say, okay, what are you looking for in your next head coach? And I promise you 80 to 90% of the time, they all would say they wanted a male coach. And I want to do a study on it. So China, since Dr. China already, we got to do a study on this because it's just so intriguing. I mean, I was fortunate to have all women coaches other than basketball in high school. And so I know of some of this socialization of how we see the world of male coaches and female coaches, but I love that the ACEs and our WNBA teams, are mostly all led by women. But that is something that is intriguing, that in their minds, our own minds, we think that a male can coach us better, and we want to see that. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yes.
And Carrie, in your profession, it's highly competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, how do you help someone else in your profession? Because I know a lot of what you did, you are elevated, correct me if I'm wrong, by males that
Absolutely.
gave you opportunities in writing and
Yeah.
trusted you. And what do you think has to happen for us to do a better job of self-support in all industries, and in particularly your industry?
When I think about the start of my career, that's kind of a twofold answer. Like, the start of my career was absolutely and still largely is male dominated. A lot of my career I owe to the men that were before me. I think in entertainment, it has gone to a level of salaciousness. It's really, really difficult to watch, to be honest. And that's in television, that's in all forms of entertainment. Like, it's like drama is like ruling the world. It's lining people's pockets. it's allowing people to change and increase their lifestyle. So it's causing the generation under us to behave a certain way and to believe that this is how I have to be to make it whatever it is.
Mm.
So I would say a huge part of our responsibility. There are very few Black women in the songwriting field, but there are a lot of us that are artists. And even executives, there are not many Black women. It's increasing slowly but surely. But I think we have to feel a sense of responsibility,
Mm.
societally, and the executives as well. Those that are Black, male and female. We've all got to take a piece of the pie of that responsibility and try to turn that around, because I think we are beginning to see the damage that we could be doing for the generations under us, if we don't begin to work together, if we don't begin to just be a little more classy and less
And present,
confrontational. And
yes.
yeah.
And I think that one of the things that I get from what you just said, Carrie, is that although it elevates you financially,
Mm-hmm.
it's depleting us spiritually and internally. And
Yes.
that's where the stress, because anytime you have a lot of negativity, there's not an amount of money that's going to save you from going home at night
Mm-hmm.
with all of that negativity, because it does not go away.
Yeah.
You can act negative, but it's still, even for the cameras, and then not being able to have people in the room like Dr. China, Dr. Ingrid, and Natalie, who can hire and who can make decisions and who can give a different perspective to the administration side, or even having women who can write and produce, because lyrics written by men for women is going to be different. And then what sells, and it's so different.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. China, what is your feel on all of this?
Yeah, I was thinking about a saying that I believe the former Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright, said there's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women.
Mm.
Say that again. Go ahead. Carrie, we ain't mad at her for that statement. Go ahead.
That's a bar. That's a
Yeah,
line right there.
there's a special
That's a
place
lie.
for women who don't help other women. And I feel very strongly about that. I felt very strongly about that when I was raised by a Chicago public school teacher grandmother who told me that you must do everything in your power to help other women, especially Black women. And so I live by that. I am disappointed sometimes when we're seeing media images that show women, especially women of color, hurting, cussing each other out, fighting, and all the things that you see on social media. It's extremely disappointing, because what that does is it helps perpetuates the stereotypes that we cannot get along with each other. And we need to work together to make sure that we're moving the needle in creating more leadership positions and roles, because those stereotypes are so intense that when you see great leaders like who's on this conversation, you have to fight through all of those stereotypes to show that we're not angry. We're not, we're described in three different ways. We're either, back in the day, the Mammy, the Jezebel, or the Sapphire. One of those three particular ways. And we're not monolithic. We have all different lived experiences. So it's extremely disappointing to see those media images and how a lot of systematic occurrences that occur to perpetuate those stereotypes. And one of the things that I did when I was working in the collegiate level, and as a matter of fact, now I'm still continuing, I started a Women of Color Athletic Director Network, where we invited women of color athletic directors in the intercollegiate space to come together and to strategize on how we can help support, nurture, coach, mentor, serve as an advocate for each other. because we were relying on men to do it or white men to do it, everyone else. But we had talent, or we have talent, we have passions, we have different skill sets that we can bring to the table. So creating that grassroots group and for us to meet on an annual basis at a convention in June really gives us the opportunity to celebrate each other and ourselves and what we bring to the table in the industry. And so I'm really proud that although I'm not in the collegiate space anymore, I was asked to still continue this. And so we're going to be meeting in Orlando in June to talk about how do we love ourselves and love each other. So when it comes to vacancies of C-suite jobs, executive level jobs, we have, just as much credibility to not only apply for the jobs, but we can recommend and hopefully influence those decision makers to consider us in many of these positions. And Ingrid was part of that group, and as a matter of fact, technically she still is because it's current and former director of athletics in a collegiate level.
That is, I hope you guys are really listening because two of the most, like I said, the entertainment and the sports industry has always been two of the most visible spaces for people of color. And through their voices and their credibility in the past, there's been a concerted effort to use your voice to advocate for others, to, you know, the entertainment and the sports industry help push the narrative of social justice, inclusiveness. Um, all of those things were part of our journey and part of our history. As you guys see it now, where do you see the need for us to grow in order to help elevate our whole population? And it breaks my heart because I agree with you, Carrie, and I agree with China and Dr. China in that the examples that we're showing is causing damage that will become another generational thing we have to overcome. But we can begin, it's already begun to reverse itself. But how can we accelerate that reverse where we're really using our platforms to show just how unified and how powerful and how wonderful and how beautiful we are? Because everybody on here looks different, but it's beautiful. I just need to say that. So I'm going to leave that question out. In fact, Dr. Ingrid, I'm going to actually point that question to you first. How do we use our space to elevate our cause? Because everybody wants to talk about the problems, but nobody wants to say, this is something possibly that we could do or I could do in my space that would further help us move forward. And someone said, watch your ego. Absolutely.
Well, I think for me, I was always making sure, my empathy skills allowed me to really help more people and to help others. So it was never really about me. So being in the space and being in that chair in a leadership position, it was always about how can I help everyone else? And I think it comes from so many different things. Who you were around growing up, being intentional about helping others. I think about the space that I'm in now, being able to create opportunities for my colleagues, because as Black women, when we're in a role, we don't have the bandwidth to do anything else but just that. And I had to learn from not being in the role to understanding all the skills and the people that have helped me along the way and that were in my space all that time. Now I'm able to do so much more for other people and other women in this space in my next reinvention of Ingrid. And so I think it's really, for me though, it has always been, how do I make sure that there's civility in my space? which is a lack of in this country right now. Um, Always being respectful, but someone said it earlier, I think it was Carrie, gratitude. If you fill your space up with gratitude and you practice that daily, it is amazing how it impacts your health, your life, and but more importantly, others around you just by being grateful and kind.
Ladies,
You know, what I would love to see, um, as we're talking about how we can unify and how we can create change, we know that we have influence around the globe
absolutely.
as people of color, as Black persons around the globe. We are the most influential. And I'm not just talking about entertainment. I'm including sports. We set the bar for so many fashion, so many things we set the bar on, right? What I would love to see is more of us retrieve, what's the word? Pulling our support of the things that we know are damaging us, our children, our future grandchildren. I'd love to see a more unified approach to, not supporting, some of these things, because we're very well aware of them. Whether that means pulling our viewership, whether that means holding back our dollar, whatever ways we could do that. That's what I would really love to see. That's the kind of unity that I've been praying and meditating on, and even discussing with my girlfriends, and just doing the small things and changes that I'm capable of making, and publicly as well. I'm pretty vocal. But I would love to see us flexing our power in the ways that it needs to be flexed.
And I think that is exceedingly crucial for us to be successful, is that we have to stop, one, buying into the narrative that we don't get along. That's the first thing. Change our mindset. Secondly, do something physically and verbally. Are you sponsoring somebody that's not in the room? Are you saying good things about somebody that's not in the room? Are you providing an opportunity for somebody else? Are you teaching? Are you giving a handout? But most importantly, I am in total agreement with, let's stop participating in the negativity by not supporting. Now, I'm not saying that's not necessarily boycotting, because we're not anti anything. We're just making a decision not to participate.
Yeah, and it's not boycotting persons or individuals. It's just saying, I'm not going to lend my viewership to something that is damaging. It's got nothing to do with anyone on a personal level. It's just, I think that we've got to be more wise, so that we can correct this. And because, like I said, we've got so much power. If you only knew, I don't know how many of us watching have been out of this country, but when I tell you the level of enamored people are with Black people, fashion, we know this, hair, fashion, we are some of the biggest consumers, and some of the biggest, and especially when we're talking about Black women, we're really the ones setting the tone. We're talking surgeries. People want our lips, our hair, our body, our everything, the way we talk, our skin color.
Preach.
We're so aware, yet so unaware of how we should be flexing our power to advance ourselves.
And
I like that we're aware but unaware.
Mm-hmm. And it's
Go ahead,
just as small as, what's going on with the state of Florida, right? And the politics and what they're trying to do with DEI and, the Divine Nine. And I'm just like, I'm not going to Florida. I love Florida. I love Disney. I'm not going to Florida until that nonsense stops. And that's just one person, right? But it's right. What if everyone thought like that?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I want to chime in to let you know that our Black spending power, it's anticipated that it's going to grow to $1.8 trillion by the year 2022.
Wow.
1.8 trillion. There are so many other demographics that can get together to influence, as you mentioned, Carrie, the finance of it. Just
Mm-hmm.
that alone. But if we really just connect and believe that we do have that strength, that collective strength, we can move mountains. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we can really make a significant difference, especially for Black women. I mean, look what happened in the last election period when the Divine Nine, took over. And I love it. I'm not in the Divine Nine, but I just love that. And when we truly are passionate and we connect,
Okay, excuse
we
me, Dr. China. Some people in our audience may not know what the Divine Nine is. So I want you to just take a moment.
are you anyone in the Divine Nine? Because I don't want to speak about it since I'm not in it.
You can just tell us what it is.
So the Divine Nine has 9 Black fraternities and sororities. Um, five
That's
of
good enough.
9 started on the campus of Howard University. I'm an HBCU graduate, not a Howard University graduate. So shout out to Howard University. So, but that is the passion that we all need to definitely have. And so that's the reason why in the beginning, when we started talking about this, I was speaking about joining forces. When we join forces, so much can happen. And there's so many other demographics that join forces on a regular basis. You don't have to wait for some type of crisis, a travesty to happen. They just start
True.
joining forces. But
Hold
many,
up, Dr. China. Did you hear what she said?
Mm-hmm.
We don't and should not, I'll add, wait for a crisis to flex our ability to create change and
Mm-hmm.
to literally demand change. But the change has to start within us. I'm sorry I interrupted, but
oh, you're fine.
that I needed people to hear that we should not wait for another tragedy to happen, another unjustifiable killing for us to stay very diligent on this journey. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. This is great. Yeah. And then I'll just wrap it up by saying the 3 C's that I talk in threes, so forgive me. But I talk in threes because it's really important for people to digest some of these strategies and thoughts. So I feel that how we can get together, we need to cooperate, we need to communicate, and
Mm.
we need to celebrate.
Mm.
Mm.
We need to spend more. You don't have to have like this grandiose gesture or accomplishment to celebrate the good work that we do in our communities or in our homes or on the jobs or nationally or internationally. We only have one crack at this life.
Mm-hmm.
Let's celebrate and love each other, especially women of color.
Yeah.
We're all in this together. And if we can focus on those 3 C's, we can really do some good things here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
We got the celebration because listen, I don't know about y'all, but it feels real good to be a black woman these days. We are being celebrated, we are being appreciated in some ways, in the celebratory ways. I mean, we're being championed, we're being heralded and lifted up, and we're being promoted. We're given opportunities that we've never had, grants and funds, and all of that. But yeah, that communication. What's the other C? Cooperation.
Cooperation.
Yeah, we need a little bit more of those two.
I love
And I am in total agreement.
While
Miss
still
Natalie,
celebrating.
yeah,
while still celebrating.
Yes, yes.
I love the 3 C's that you said. I think the important thing is it really begins with the children. And,
So we added a fourth C on that.
yeah, so the 4 C.
Go ahead.
But I love the 3 C's that you said, because if we can really get across to children that you have to cooperate with each other, you have to communicate with each other in a positive manner. I think so many of the things that go wrong, in today's world and with kids is they're so quick to fight. and so quick to call each other names and say horrible things to each other instead of, one, step in the other person's shoes. What is going on in their world? Be empathetic, communicate with them, learn about them, cooperating, and then celebrate the little things in life. I think it's hard for young kids to celebrate for each other. It's very, if you lose something and you don't, you're not the winner, are you celebrating for that person? Right? Are you happy for that person, even though you were not the winner and you didn't, succeed? So, I love those 3 C's. I think they're amazing. But if we can find a way to teach the children how to be more empathetic and communicate and all of those things, we're definitely on the right path of having a better, society.
And the key is when we say communication, there's a different feel. I can't feel a text. I don't know what energy you put in that text. I'm trying to figure it out half the time. Are they mad? Are they just busy? You don't know. We don't talk enough. We don't have conversations verbally in the manner that we need to. We'll call each other and complain, but no, we need to have conversations about how do I move in my space? How do I elevate in my space? And sometimes I was thinking about you and I just decided to call. I did that to Ingrid one night. I was like, I don't know why I'm calling, but I'm calling you. And we just had the most amazing conversation.
And I needed it.
And a lot of times we talk ourselves out of it. Like I've been wanting to have Carrie on my show, and I kept saying, oh, she doesn't want to do this. And then I kept thinking, but she's so much more in depth than what people see. There's so much. I don't know if you noticed that Carrie and I and Natalie, we're the only, we don't have the doctor in front of our name, but we have a doctorate of life and experiences through our journeys of success, just as beyond Dr. China and Dr. Ingrid have. They didn't become doctors. They're not doctors simply because they have the degrees, but because of their journeys and the lessons they've learned. And that's what this show is about, sharing. It's about sharing. And I love, Carrie, that you said, I have the ups and downs, because one of the fallacies of the industries, and particularly of sports and of entertainment and even corporate America, they have this facade that it's easy to make it. They hide the struggle and the pain of the journey. But there's no one that's ever been successful. Michael Jordan missed the majority of his shots, but the ones he made mattered. Carrie doesn't have every hit, but the hits she's got mattered. But the ones she wrote for others mattered. And then if you look at the journey of Dr. China, who has elevated and then hit a ceiling, God was like, that's because I didn't want you in that space. I needed you over here. And then she elevated to another level higher than the level she anticipated collegiately. And as successful as you've been, Natalie, as a player, the things that you did as a coach, creating programming, creating camps, and now as a GM, where you can really pour in and shape the next generation of influencers. And that's where you all stand now. All of you have an opportunity to mentor, to shepherd our next generation. And I hope everyone here listens to just the wonderful things everybody's had to say. And I'm going to end this by closing out and having everyone to share something with the audience from your heart that you would want to contribute to them. And that includes you, Dr. Ingrid. Before we bring Gary on, who's going to end up because we have a phenomenal gala coming up, so he's going to talk about that. But I don't want to digress. Go ahead. I'm sorry, ladies. Who's going to go first? Because I know y'all got all that wisdom inside you that whatever you want to share, whatever you want to give, because there's young people, coaches, professionals on this call and who will watch it in the future, who may need to hear what you say in that moment, and it will shift the direction they're going or how they're thinking.
I'll start. I think it's important for people to realize that it is a struggle, and not every day is easy, right? And it's whether it's in sports, it's whether it's in any profession that you're in, anything you're doing in life. But one of my greatest favorite quotes is from Marianne Williamson, and part of it is, it's called Our Deepest Fear. I'm sure you guys have heard it, but the line that I love the most is, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are more powerful beyond measure. And, if everyone could just say that to themselves every day, I think it really would help. And it's always helped me. And that the whole poem is incredible. But, I tell my daughter this, my youngest daughter, she's a pretty darn good athlete. But I just tell her, you're your worst enemy. You're your worst. No one can beat you but you. And so I think if people realize that, that you're more powerful beyond measure, and then good things will happen. And you just gotta believe.
And that's something you can hold on to when things are not going well. That's when you say that. That's the time when you're going to need it. You fill yourself up with it so that you could tap back into it on your difficult times. Thank you. Okay, ladies.
I would love to go next. I don't know if you guys know this, but I played basketball in high school and I swam. I was a national swimmer as well. And in high school, I 2 years best offensive. Senior year, I was MVP. I was 2-year captain. And in swimming, I competed for Georgia in the junior nationals. I don't even know if Miss Bev knew that, but
did not have a clue.
So I only am bringing these things up to say that the tools that I learned in sports, and this is kind of blending the worlds, I guess, because the foundational tools that I learned in sports, and this goes back also with what we can instill in our children, especially young girls, but the tenacity that I gained, the ability to anticipate what's happening, be prepared and brace yourself or square up, whatever that means, to anticipate what's coming, or what could come. All possibilities are available. We got to be ready for whatever is about to happen. And even learning how to win in life and do so with grace, learning how to lose and still have that spirit of perseverance. So many things that I learned from sports that actually I was very well aware that my mentality was strong enough to guide me with wherever I decided to place my gifts, wherever I decided. I knew that those foundational things, and this is something that I would tell mothers and fathers, like, I'm so grateful that my parents allowed me to explore sports and music as well, young. I got to not only sharpen my tools or gifts, as I'm saying, I was also able to gain some really, really quality lessons. And I don't want to keep using the word tools. The word I would use would be characteristics, traits, qualities, to succeed at anything. So that would be, if there are any parents out there that are listening, watching, I would say that's one of the best ways I can see that you could set your child up for success. And I mean that internally, externally, just give them that determination, that grit, that will. when I look at, like, you know, how everyone's talking about how they have these participation
Awards.
awards, right? And I don't know, I guess I feel two ways about it, but and then too, the fact that kids are not outside, they're not really that active anymore. Childhood obesity, we know Michelle Obama have actually supported her foundation, and these are just things that they need anyway. That's what I'm getting at. They need to be active and get out there and
These are bare essentials.
yes,
to life.
and they need sores on their knees and elbows, just like we have. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, my final threes.
Bring it, bring it.
And it's your third three.
And it's my third three. I used to be a coach also.
Hey, Carrie was present. I just want to say that. She's been present.
I love that. Thank you for keeping track of that. So I think that no matter what people, how they navigate, I think that there are just three things that they definitely need to have. No matter what the industry is, no matter what the goal is. Knowledge, proximity, relationships. Those are the three things. You got to be good at whatever you do. You better know your stuff. You need to be in those spaces and connect with industry leaders or whoever those influencers are. So you have to be in the proximity to be able to grow and to be able to join forces and to learn. And then relationships, building very positive relationships. That is the key. You must need all three to be successful in anything that you do. And, you know, you can grow from there.
Wow. I'm almost speechless, and that's rare for me. Dr. Ingrid, I'm going to kick it to you for your words.
Very simple. Thank you again, everyone. Just amazing. But I would just say, again, be present and accounted for so you can show your wonder. You can't show your wonder and all your skills that you have to give and share if you're not present and accounted for. So that's what I would say. And thank you so very much. I have pages of notes. I've been sending my daughter a text when she's a freshman at Norfolk State. I've been sending her nuggets from this whole call. So because she needs to understand the people, the women that are out there right now, paving the way for her in the next generation.
This has been a phenomenal experience. And I can tell just by watching some of the comments coming up that people are really resonating with the things that you guys have had to say. And at the end of the day, that's all we all hope to do, is that something that we say, something that we do, something along our journey impacts in a positive way someone else's journey. And I would just like to finish from my perspective by saying this. You may not like everything that you go through. You may not even want to do everything you need to. But always remember your end result. That's the thing that gets you through the difficult time. Never lose sight of why you're in the space that you're in. Always understand that it's not about you. Your opportunity isn't because you're smarter than, it isn't because you're more gifted than, it is because it's your moment. So we celebrate other people's moments in the way that we should celebrate ours, even the difficult. Sometimes we give ourselves no credit for all the challenges we've overcome. That's where our greatest strength comes from. We wait for the reward to tell us how great we are. Sometimes we just need to pat each other back. Girl, I don't know how you got through that, but you did that. And you did it with grace, and you stood your ground, and you came out on the other side. Doesn't mean we don't cry at night. Doesn't mean that it doesn't get hard. Doesn't mean that the thought of quitting doesn't come around every now and then. But successful people move through those moments. And I don't know if Gary's available now, but we would like for the founder of ABIS to come on and close us out if he's here.
Wow. Ladies, that was powerful. Bev, you're right. I've never heard you be speechless. Okay, so
I've been speechless a lot on this one. Y'all been killing me.
yeah,
Just
right.
putting it out there.
But let me say this: as a byproduct of HBCU school, also Cheney U, as someone who used to hang out at Howard all the time, I was just fascinated hearing your voices, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that I have 3 daughters, and I've always told them that they could reach for the stars. And listening to you just echo that statement for me, because like, wow, listening to y'all. And as I sit there and I think about it, and I think about how many women whose voice has been stifled for so long. And as I listened to you, I was hearing freedom. I was hearing just how powerful you are. Because I've always felt that Black women are the most powerful people in the world because of everything that you have to deal with. And be more proud of listening to all the things that's being said and coming from the heart. So I want to say thank you to y'all because you may not realize it, but you're reaching people. And I know somewhere between all the people that were there, you made a difference. All right. And it was something that you said about we have to celebrate us. And this is why ABIS, we are doing that. This is why every year we try to do a gala, the Champion Legend Gala, to celebrate us. Because we feel that we should not have to wait for someone else to tell us when to celebrate us. We don't need permission. Let's just do it. So on June 2nd to the 4th, we're going to do our 2nd annual Champion Legend Gala to celebrate some of us, including Edwin Moses, including football star Ryan Clark from ESPN, including Chuck D from Public Enemy for his social work, including track star Sidney McLaughlin. And how about our very own board member, Nikki Fargas, receiving the Executive Excellence Award. That's what I'm talking about. Tracy McGrady. I don't want to get in trouble by now announcing Tracy's name. Tracy McGrady. And on. Because we need to do that, every year. And listen to y'all. You're just like lifting my heart and know that we're doing the right thing. So anyone that's out there, come and join us. Come and hear some more. Because Beverly Kearney is going to be leading our professional development classes on Friday and Saturday. Because nobody else can do it like Bev does, right? So we got to let her do her thing. Ladies, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for your words of wisdom and continue to do it. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And we're going to just say, make sure you follow all of the wonderful. You'll find, we're going to post on the We Are ABIS website their social media contacts, or whichever avenue that they would like to have for you to follow them. And ladies, if you'd like to share a contact with the other panelists and carry on those relationships, please feel free, because you have my information, to send it to me and I'll make sure they get whatever each person on the panel, because it's important. One of the other small things that I want to do with this is to begin to connect people in different professions that may not ever be in the same room, but can add value on each other's journey and provide opportunities. So just thank you. Thank you all for taking the time out of your day to give of yourselves, especially from such a place. It's easy. And I have to admit, they didn't get any prep questions. And I know that's unusual. And I did it deliberately because I didn't want the answers to come from their head, because I want you to touch people from your heart. And who you are is always better when it comes from your heart, because we get to feel you and not just hear you. And I have felt everything you said. I leave here being better than when I started the conversation an hour and 19 minutes ago. So thank you guys for staying on a little extra, because we got started a little late. And thank you for sharing. Is there anything anybody else has before we say good night? So
Thank
we
you.
are all good. And I just want to say thank you guys so very much. And you guys have a blessed night. And for whoever's watching, I hope that something someone says is exactly what you needed to hear. If not in this moment, I promise you in future moments, something somebody said will come back and benefit you within your journey. God bless you and thank you. Thank you, ladies. Have a good night.